Yo, welcome everyone once again to the We Are Gamers series. My name, your host, is Champ Tone, aka Sykosys, a gamer with a passion for Jesus and gaming. And it is once again a true pleasure to grace your space this day. We have been having these great 1v1 series with people getting to know the person behind the gamer tag. Today we have the honor and privilege of someone who's kind of a big deal. Allow me to introduce my buddy here, who simply goes by the name Rage. Welcome, Rage. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, Sykosys. Or Psych, as I usually call you.
Thanks for coming on, man. Yeah, I mean, we have those games. We play a lot of League of Legends, and that's a game that really tilts the heck out of people. And I'll be honest, you're one of those guys that I play with, and it's funny because your name is actually Rage, and I have never honestly heard you rage. I don't know if you have, or if you have, you do it like offline or something like that. So
I
if
think
you
I do it a little bit more internally. I don't do it as much as most people. Usually it's Switchy who sets me off, or Stats refusing to surrender.
Oh
Those are
my
my
goodness.
two biggest triggers.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us this day. So let's just jump right into it. If you can just give us, please, if you don't mind, your first name and what are the online gamer names you usually use?
All right, so my first name is Andrew. I usually use Rage online in any game I can get. It's Raije. I actually
Yes.
stole it from he was the god of war in a mud I used to play my freshman and sophomore year of college, which you
Oh,
should never
really?
play a mud. They are
I have played muds before, though.
terrible and addicting
They are.
and just as bad as WoW, pretty much. And you shouldn't do it. It's don't do muds, kids.
That's funny. Turn left. Type turn left. The
Yeah. L,
the
just
old
L for left. You got to learn all the shortcuts and everything. Uh, it was a
rage.
crazy one.
So.
Before that,
Mhm.
actually, I used to use, because I thought it was funny when I was like middle school, to go by Bobo to Clown and go player kill kill in Diablo 1,
Oh
because
my
there was a
goodness.
glitch where you could make yourself invulnerable, but
Mm,
you would still die if they made you go to negative HP and then healed them. So I'd run around fighting people and
hilarious.
kill them, get them below health, then heal them to kill them and stuff.
Oh
So,
my goodness. You've been killed by Bobo the Clown. Wow, what a name. So
so it was
what
an upgrade to Rage. It was an upgrade for sure.
that is so funny. So what was it about Rage that's special for you? Why would you even choose that name? I know it's interesting the name. It's not spelled RAG like you said, it's spelled RAIJE. I remember the first time I saw it. I
My
was like,
my
"Oh."
assumption is that
Mhm.
it was based off of just the rage, anger, because it's the god of war, just
Mm.
spelled differently, so you aren't just calling it Rage. Of course, and everyone thinks I'm like Indian or something, which I am very much not.
Really?
But yeah, because it's Raje or something like that, right? That's what they're trying to get into because they're trying to make
Rajay.
sense of it.
Oh my goodness.
Um, and I think it was just probably one of a bunch of WoW characters I had, and
Mm,
that's just the
mhm,
one that I kept. Like
mm,
that's the one that I just started using from then on out. Because like that's, I don't know, that's off. Like I didn't like sit down and go, "This is the one for me." I think it
mhm,
was more of just like, "All right, this is the one that I'm now responding to," because I named some, dwarf, warlock, or priest, or undead priest. Who
mm.
knows?
That's funny.
That, and then just kept it forever because that's just it just fit. And so I actually had to wait like 3 years, 4 years in League of Legends for it to come open. There was a little website where you
Really?
go and see, like, yeah, because someone else had it. So I was Rage T of
Really?
J
Mm.
until it came up and I grabbed it and I was like, yes, I've got it. That guy's going to change his name if he ever plays again. But
That's
hopefully he's smart enough to never log in again and he's moved on with his life to bigger and better things.
That's interesting. All right. So if you don't mind, this next question is always like a tricky question. And it's, it's about your age now. If you don't feel comfortable giving us your exact age, you can give us an age bracket, however you feel comfortable. But how old are you and when did you actually start gaming?
So I am 39. Um, I'm pretty sure. Once you pass a certain age, it just gets a little iffy. But I'm pretty sure I'm 39. And so I am not, I'm not sure of the date or anything. It was sometime after January 14th, 1987, because I looked it up. My dad came home with an NES, and I
Mm,
was probably 4 or 5. So it's probably recently after the game came out. But he came home with Kung Fu, which was an NES game,
nice.
Golf,
Yes.
which was an NES game, and
Mm-hmm.
Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, which
Mm,
for a child is probably the hardest of all the Zelda games because it had the top down, but it also had like the side scroller stuff. And
yeah.
like as an adult, you can really get the timing down
Mm-hmm,
on
mm-hmm.
that like middle thrust that hits both top and bottom of like the skeletons. But
Mm.
as like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, that game was brutal. Like the jumping over the lava pits and like the
Yeah.
lava's knocking you in and stuff. Like yeah, that's those were the first 3 games, and it was the best golf game ever. It was 1984 or so when it came out. But it's basically the same thing as the newest ones though. You tap it to bring it back. You tap it at the peak, and then you tap it at the point. And like it's amazing to me that you can look at like Tiger Woods Golf, and it's essentially the exact same mechanic as the 1984 game titled
Yeah.
Golf.
Yeah, but that game was actually it was pretty accurate in how it worked. I mean, the graphics
Hmm.
were, they were NES wonky graphics, but
Hmm.
I mean, you had to take into account the wind and everything, and you couldn't just slam the ball depending on where you were. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So that's what started your golf career, huh? You had it once. You're like, I need to do this in real life. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, at that point, that was the only time I ever lived on a golf course was when I was really little and living up in Car Lake, um,
Oh, you
up in
lived
a
on a
little
golf
small
course.
town.
Mm.
I mean, it's a public golf course by a
Mm-hmm.
lake out in
Mm-hmm.
Henderson, which is a um,
Mm.
previously somewhat successful, but now very poor, very small town.
Oh, all right, all right. So what was it about video games that really draw you to keep playing them? I mean, you said you started when you were 4 years old, and what was it about the actual games that just kept drawing you in to play them?
It's you can blame it on, the cool mechanics and the excitement and the fun and just the new adventures and getting to play all these types of games. And like
Mm,
when you start at that point and there's terrible graphic games, you really get to see all this transformation from like just these really bare bones things with one simple mechanic to all kinds of crazy storytelling and stuff.
mm-hmm.
Or you could just blame it on having ADHD. Like I'm really ADHD, and games are very very tailored um
Mm,
to you're getting sight, you're getting sound, you're getting
mm-hmm,
feedback,
mm-hmm,
your
mm-hmm,
brain is alive in ways that is really hard to replicate in the real world, on just like feeding your
mm,
brain excitement.
mm,
um,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but yeah,
That's
a little bit of
interesting.
A, a little bit of B.
Kept you busy. That's interesting. You're probably the first person I know that's mentioned the golf. I remember the golf game though, because I don't know, for some reason I just remember it. It was at the time I just thought it was pretty solid in terms of what it
Hmm.
offered. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, this is a really it was strangely fun. I really enjoyed playing it, and it was just golf. It wasn't anything crazy. I didn't like watching golf. I can't play golf at all. But I really did enjoy the actual game for the
And it's
NES.
definitely Mario on the cover. Like it's
Yeah,
definitely
it
designed to
is.
be Mario. Doesn't ever say that, but it's very clearly black mustache, red shirt. It's you're definitely playing as Mario.
Yeah, it's so funny. All right, so you said you received your first gaming console. It was your family who got you your NES, right? It wasn't just some
Well,
stranger
yeah, I
that
mean
just
it wasn't me. It was my dad got
all
it
right.
for the
Mhm.
family,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we all would take turns playing it and stuff. And then I was definitely the one who was the most into it and
Mhm.
got the
Yeah.
NES and then the PlayStation and then the Xbox, and then the
Yeah.
um, yeah.
No, because this next question though, because I know families' reactions, depending on the culture that you grew up with, is always different. So, how was your family's reaction when you actually started gaming and they saw that you were really into it? Was it, did they start to pull the reins? Was it more of a, oh, they just didn't care? Like, what was really their reaction when you started really getting into gaming?
I think it was a mixture of go play outside, definitely, play less, make sure you handle these responsibilities,
Mm,
but also, acceptance of that I'm playing video games.
okay.
So it was never like harsh. It was never like you have to give this up, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but and I did play with my brother quite a bit, and my dad would occasionally play.
Oh,
But I
nice.
was definitely the one who played way too much.
But they just let you play and stuff, which is cool. I know it's always different. Like some families, they just absolutely hate it. Others don't care. And then you have families that see what it offers and actually join in and be a part of it. So it's cool hearing about you being able to play with your brother and your dad because I know those are always fun times when we play with our family together and stuff like that. So yeah, if you can though, please just let us know what is your heritage and cultural background.
I'm American Southern White. Um,
American Southern White.
so it's complicated, right? Because if my parents got their 24 Me or whatever, um, and they're both just completely British Isles, England, Scotland, Irish, Wales mixed
Mm,
together.
okay.
So I'm definitely that's completely it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where a lot of our culture comes from and our language comes from in this country.
Mm,
But because of America's unique system of like whiteness and non-whiteness, and it integrates people into whiteness
that's
as like an
interesting.
approval mechanism, because like
Mm,
Irish people didn't used to be white, Italian people didn't used to be white,
mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
once they lost their accents, once they did, some things I'm not going to get into,
Mm,
but they became white, and so what you end up with is, you're kind of regionally white in America,
mm,
unless your family really held on to traditions, which,
mm-hmm.
mine didn't especially hold on to traditions. And
Mm,
so I'm really just, I'm Southern. I mean, in North Carolina, but I was a small town in North Carolina, so
mm-hmm.
you get a little bit of extra Southern there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm white. That's
Mm,
pretty much it.
mm. That's interesting. All right, so have you so having told us that about your actual cultural background, it's interesting you say that because you kind of understand a lot of where you came from as well as the evolution of your cultural background, which is good because this next question is, has there really been any positive or negative impact that your particular cultural background or experience has had on your gaming experience?
I don't think so, because I don't have like parents who are trying to hold on to a culture and
Mm,
instill it in me. I'm
mm,
much more part of the like generic American culture,
mm,
and it's not super rigid on any particular thing, and it's
mm-hmm,
not
mm-hmm,
super, I don't know, it's just not that like tight where it's super controlling,
mm,
it's patriarchal, but it's not to the
mm,
degree that other places are. It's so I don't think it's had any major experience, any major impact that like is abnormal that everyone else doesn't kind of have.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, someone else that we've actually interviewed before who who considered themselves, as their culture being American as well, they compared themselves to they said kind of like how you're saying how there wasn't any real it wasn't this or that, whereas like some like in Korean culture, for example, gaming is totally different over there where
Hmm.
over here it's not considered something that it's even to strive for. It's just you do it and yeah, it's fun, whatever. Whereas places, even Europe is starting to adopt this with their esports culture, where gaming suddenly now is a little more. I guess what's the there's more opportunity in terms
More
of
embraced, yeah,
progress.
more
Right, right.
opportunity, more avenues for doing something with it.
Right,
And I mean, I
right.
think that age has had way more impact specifically than culture because gaming was really looked down upon
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, and especially playing, and America is obsessed with consoles far more than any
Mm,
place other than Japan.
mm,
Japan is the only one that kind of even competes with us. That's one of the reasons why we're kind of behind in League of Legends and other things is because we put there's so much emphasis on,
mm.
Madden and Call of Duty and stuff. But
Right,
like
right.
gaming was a lot more looked down on when I was younger, and it was
Mm,
almost all males, and that was how it
mm-hmm,
was targeted and how it
mm-hmm,
was marketed. And since kind of the I mean, it was slowly gaining acceptance, but really phones are
mm,
what completely changed the acceptable level, and they started, engineering a lot
mm-hmm,
more,
mm-hmm,
building them, targeting them, marketing them towards women more, um, and
mm-hmm.
just, them becoming like an acceptable thing to do while you're, sitting in the doctor's office waiting to be seen. Like it just kind of became omnipresent.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think I've had more of a life-changing with my age because I started off at such a young age and then seeing the
Mm-hmm,
evolution
mm-hmm.
over time.
That's
But also
interesting.
just playing the dorkiest games possible like MUDs, so that has part of it.
They were fun. I mean, Muds were fun. It was literally your first RPG experience. No, I mean that's how I felt. You had like so much control over what you can do, and I mean, you usually died 90% of the time in the first. I don't know, like you
Oh,
couldn't
I died a lot of times.
you
I died a
couldn't.
lot of times,
Yeah,
but,
they were.
like, I mean, I PvP'd and all that kinda stuff, like, I did all kinds of stuff on there.
Oh, in the Muds,
Played it way
yeah.
too much. Yeah,
That's
it
interesting.
was
So you were
crazy.
you were a big Mud guy then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really interesting. All right. So you still play games now, yes? I mean, you you
Yes.
you did you we spoke before we actually started and you did just literally carry a game as a jungler in League of Legends. And so why do you still choose to play video games even now?
Part of it's just because it makes my brain happy, and I'm
Mm,
good at it, right? So when you're good at something and you do it, you feel better about yourself and just kind of how it reacts with, again, like the ADHD. Like it's just, you're playing and you're looking at top lane and mid
mm,
lane and
mhm, mhm,
bot lane and you're jungling and but for me, a lot of it is just social time.
mm,
Right? Like my best friend plays League of Legends now. I
mhm,
introduced him
mhm,
to the game. He can, hate me for that, but he plays. I've gone to New York to visit, Seth who
mm,
plays,
mhm,
and like I know so many people, and like when I'm done with work and I'm
mm,
exhausted and I come home, I want some social time, but I
mm,
don't want to go anywhere
mhm, mhm,
that's gonna take me because like where I am related to my closest friends is like 20 minutes away. I don't want to
mm,
drive 20, 30 minutes there
mhm,
and back when I'm right now, I work full time. I'm getting my master's and doing an internship. So like the amount of time and energy I
mm,
have to do that kind of thing just isn't there. And so, a lot of it's social and then some of it's just makes my brain happy still, like just
mhm,
playing
mhm.
a stupid phone game while I'm watching bad TV or whatever.
That's interesting. The social aspect has come up a lot, and a lot of people really. That's one of the things, and I agree with that 100%. Getting that social aspect, getting to know, after a point, you start to get to know the people you game with. Sometimes you don't want to, because you get to enjoy playing with certain people, and it's fun, especially when it's actually someone you know in real life, that who's an actual friend. You're getting to share something that you enjoy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you enjoy, you guys are playing the same game. I mean, Seth, my buddy Seth, he's the one who got me into League of Legends. And and League is definitely not an easy game to just jump
He's
into.
why I play League of Legends because we played
And
Dota together for years, and
oh,
then he
really?
migrated over to League of Legends. Yeah, I knew him for like
Mm.
8, 9 years before League started, really. And then
Yes.
I came over to League, and I was like, "This is too easy. There's no denying of creeps and stuff." And then I quit for a couple of years, and like you can't go back to Dota once you quit. It's such a brutal game that I was like,
Mm.
I don't want to relearn how to
What
do
you
all
guys
of
did?
this.
What was it? Was it Dota with Warcraft 2 or
Yeah,
StarCraft?
yeah, Warcraft 3.
Warcraft
So
3, right?
Warcraft 3 had the crazy map
Yeah.
maker,
Yes.
and it was huge community and stuff. And there were actually a bunch of Defense of the Ancients.
Right,
Dota's
right.
Defense of the Ancients, and they were both. There were like there was like a one where like you were dwarves and you were defending
Mhm.
from the
Mhm.
undead.
Yep.
And like I played early Dota, and then like all through all the crazy patches with super broken stuff, and then it got better and better and better. And finally, League of Legends, Ice Frog or whatever, split off,
Mhm.
or Ginzu. I think it was Ginzu and Ice Frog split over and made
They actually just
League
took
of
the game
Legends.
mode, right? They took the game mode
Yeah, and they made
because
it
that was a custom. That was what was
yeah,
wild. That whole genre
yeah.
came out of a custom map mode
And
in an
I'm really
RTS.
glad that Blizzard never paid them for it and got it.
Mm.
And so that Dota went to Steam and still exists and hasn't been run
Mhm.
into the
Mhm.
ground by Blizzard,
I mean,
Activision, whatever they are now.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Blizzard tried, and unfortunately, it's definitely a hit or miss market because I've seen so many iterations. I've even seen one where you pilot a spaceship in space, and
they
it's a 5v5 MOBA game where you have to take points, you have to kill creeps. It was really wild, but I definitely can see it's just wild how that one game mode expanded the way it did and
yeah,
became its
yeah,
own
it
thing.
created a whole new genre.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember playing the Blizzard version,
Mm.
and I don't even remember what it's called at this point because that's what my best friend started with. He didn't
Heroes of
play
the
League or
Storm.
Dota. Yeah, well, actually, he started with Dota a million years ago. But Here's the
Oh,
Storm,
okay.
and so, but like then he quit for like 15 years, and we went to
Mm.
play it, and long before they actually canceled the game, they
Hmm.
they were letting the ranked queue go on for like 9-10 minutes, even at like low ranks, and like it was
Oh,
unplayable essentially. Like
9-10 minute
it
queues.
was
Oh.
yeah, it was just like they just like if something was broken and they just didn't want to fix it, and like they had clearly like already moved
Mm.
all their resources 6-12 months in advance, or they were just completely inept. Either way, I felt like that game could have had a future if they wanted it to, but they
Yeah,
didn't
it could
want
have.
to.
It had potential, but I mean, that was also at the time that Blizzard they made a lot of questionable in-house decisions with
I
their
mean, I think that
corporate.
from then to
Ooh,
now and continuing is
yeah,
just like
that's
Blizzard was for at
unfortunately.
least 2 decades or a decade and a half my favorite game company.
Oh yeah,
Everything they put out hit. Diablo 1 was my
Diablo
first
1,
big
Diablo 2, yep,
computer game. It was amazing. I
StarCraft,
played every
Warcraft,
Warcraft 1, 2, 3, StarCraft
so
1,
good.
2. Completed every mission on
So
StarCraft, like
good.
every
Yep.
achievement.
Yep.
Um, they were all fantastic. And then since then, it's kind of like they haven't produced anything of note.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know.
it's kind of
Overwatch
sad.
was
Yeah.
okay, and then
Mhm.
they ran it into the ground when they became a gambling company.
Mm.
Like that's what
Yeah.
it felt like. They turned into a gambling company and like just stopped trying to make good games.
Well,
And I'm
that's
sure like all the people who actually made the good games were long gone,
that
and
was the
that's
other
who
thing,
actually
right?
matters.
They lost a lot of their good developers. But I mean, I think the reason they also lost them was had a
Yeah.
lot to do with the direction that they saw their upper management was making. You
Well,
know,
they kept
like you said, the
buying
whole
new like,
mhm.
they kept getting bought and stuff, and everything would be
Right,
shaken
right.
up, and they were not I'm sure they weren't paying the people who were actually making the best parts of the games adequately and stuff. So, like, I mean, it's not
Mhm.
surprising at all. It's just kind of sad that, like, you had, there was a couple of really good game makers that
Yep.
made AAA games that didn't miss, and then,
Yeah.
most of them now just make gambling casino games for you to go in and spend money to get skins. Like,
And the sad part is that as much as because I also do not like the whole gambling trend that a lot of games nowadays seem to tend to go in that direction with even their battle pass systems and such like that.
yeah.
But I mean that to me I've never liked that because it becomes the source of the game's purpose to make money more so than be a great game. that you
Yeah,
enjoy.
and it's you're constantly trying to like get these special items and stuff, and when
Yeah.
it's pay to win, it's significantly worse.
Right.
And when you can't like League of Legends is the somehow the first and only one who's done it. Like people just can't make enough money off of their model, I guess, because
Mm,
they and maybe a bunch of them that I just haven't played have the exact same model, but I like that it's not pay to win and you can buy essentially anything straight up.
yeah.
Straight up dollars for anything.
Yeah.
And you don't have to exclude. That was Overwatch. I died. Like I instantly got out of Overwatch once I realized that
Mm,
like, oh, I like the skin. Oh, you can't buy it. You
right.
have to just
Right.
play and grind and spend money for a chance to get this skin. And I was like,
For
oh,
a
I'm not doing that.
for a
Like I
chance.
am not going
Yeah.
to spend $200 to, give myself a 98% chance of getting this skin. Because like
Yeah.
I've rolled a 99 before. So like I don't ever want to leave, a,
I hear you
a
on that, man.
a
Yep.
full wallet amount for it. Like no, it's just not happening.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Oh man, these are so good. These discussions here. Let's continue on. We got a few more questions
Hmm.
just to wrap things up. So, this question is an interesting question because it's always different. So, what is your number one video game of all time? Your personal number one video
So I've
game of
had a
all time.
hundred of these. Every time I listen to one of these podcasts, I play them over in my head and I debate on it. And like Diablo 1 and Zelda: A Link to the Past, and you know,
Mm,
there's a ton of um, there's a ton of contenders, but
mhm,
it's
mhm.
got to be Myth: The Fallen Lords.
Myth the
Um,
Fallen. Wait,
Myth: The
Myth?
Fallen Lords. Yes,
Really?
MYTH. Yep,
Is
yep. It was a Bungie game
mhm.
before Halo. They made Myth: The Fallen Lords and Myth: Soulblighter, and they were crazy. Like it's so wild to go back and think that like they were. I mean, the graphics at the time were fantastic.
Wait, was this
Um,
the Myth, the puzzle game where you had to
no, that's Mist.
Myst? I'm sorry.
That's
Okay, okay, okay.
Mist. I'm gonna throw it in the so you can get a look view of it real quick. But it was this unique story with a lot of real
Oh,
world references,
okay.
like crossing the
Mhm.
Rubicon, which is a reference to
Oh, that's
you know
interesting. Yeah.
Rome.
Right.
But there's a speaking head who like tells lies and stuff, and you have to go kill your hero
Mm.
who fought off these bad guys who came back evil and has brought this evil army. And there's all these great characters and
Oh, this is
like
a RTS.
kind of, except you don't build anything. So at the
Right,
start of
right.
online games, you would select what units you want, and they all
Mhm.
had point values.
Mm.
Um, and there was all these crazy game modes like King of the Hill, like soccer ball version of King of the Hill. There were like like kind of like domination, like hold certain points at the end of the game, just kill everyone,
Yes, yes, I
deathmatch,
do remember this
highest
game.
damage wins, stuff like that. And you had like light troops and dark troops, and like there was like light and dark, and light like had the like on the
Right, right.
online light one had like the weaker troops, dark had like the stronger troops. There was one guy who shot lightning, the dwarves threw Molotov cocktails. You would stand with the dwarves behind the fetches who shot lightning. You throw the bottles over,
Yeah.
then you'd shoot the lightning under them to ramp them off into the distance and to fly across the board. It was called carpet bombing.
Mm.
Um, and there was also like some cheating, and especially early on before they kind of nerfed it. But like it was an absolutely wild game. All the little crazy Bungie stuff
Mhm,
where
mhm.
like you could throw a whole bunch of bottles into a river,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't blow up because they hit the water, and then they'd bounce out if you throw it like just the right spot, and then you could pile them up, and then you'd shoot with the
Oh,
fetch right there, and they would
that's
just like
awesome.
nuke the side of the stage.
Wow.
And I was good at it, and it wasn't a huge number of people playing it. I mean, there was like 1,000
Mhm,
or
mhm.
so at a given time, and one time I played like four of the top eight players because the ranks were really cool. Like the top rank was like a comet, and the next person, number two, was a eclipse or something, and then a sun, and then they were like half moons. So like the top eight were like different celestial ranks, and then you had like emperors and stuff like that that was similar to like Blizzard
Oh,
ranks at the
that's
time.
that's
But like
interesting.
four of the top eight were on the other
Yeah.
team, and I was playing a bunch of low rank guys, and like there was a whole bunch of like it was like a small map, so like everyone was
Mm-hmm.
controlling like 2-3 guys, and then we fought, and it came down to like 2-on-1, and they had the better unit, but we had two guys, and they were like just like punching each other, and then like we won with like 2 hits left on like the weakest guy in the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
there were so many epic moments in that game. The game was crazy. I had all these crazy strategies. You did all these crazy things, and the game itself was like the single player was really kind of cool and unique and weird
Mm-hmm.
for the time. So like I think in my memory at least that's my
That's
favorite game and the most unique and the one I remember the most fondly.
that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, you talked about memories, and that'll actually lead to this next question. So, what is that one gaming memory that you have that you will absolutely never ever forget? You sound like you
Uh,
have a bunch of those.
that was probably it. The beating the four top ranked 8 guys, like 4 of the top 8,
Mm,
like 2 more in the top 20 in like a one-on-one match. But there's a whole bunch of them. There's stuff in Zelda. There was one time I went back and I played Zelda, like the original
mhm,
NES
mhm,
Zelda.
mhm,
And the first day I played it, and this was like as an adult, and I was like, it's a little bit hard, but like it's not too bad. And
mm.
then I went back and like my overnight, my brain had figured it out. And it was like unlocking a cheat code, and I was like a golden god that
Mm.
couldn't be hit. Like I beat like the last 2 stages without anything touching me.
Yeah.
Um, Time Splitters, when that game first came, I remember spending like an entire weekend straight
Oh,
because it
that was
had
a
like
good
all
game.
these crazy, like I think it was like a little bit later than GoldenEye, but like
Mm.
so much better from
Mhm,
like a
mhm. Yeah,
custom map standpoint and stuff.
definitely. Yep.
When I was younger, when I first job with like 15 and 16 was working at a
Mm.
ISP, so we would plug up little like LAN stuff, and we had a
Oh, nice.
T1 connection we could
Yeah.
use, but like just hanging out and playing Quake with a bunch of friends in the office and stuff like that was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, I remember playing WoW in the beta as they were shutting
Mm.
it down for like the last time before it went live, and like you're getting fewer and fewer people, and the game is breaking as they're shutting it down and stuff.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's
Those are
just so many.
those are some great memories.
Staying up all night playing Lost Vikings, which was a Bungie game
The
back in
myth
the day.
the myth memory sounds awesome because you were able to like abuse those mechanics so well. That I yeah that that's pretty amazing. And the LAN parties are always fun. LAN parties are always amazing. I know.
Nothing dorkier in like the late 90s, early 2000s than showing somewhere with your giant 48-pound
you
PC and
yeah you had to
huge
lug that baby.
CRT
Yep.
monitor and stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, they were so much fun. Just
Those are some
yeah.
awesome memories. Awesome memories. All right, this has been so good. Well, this is our last question actually for this session, and it's a technical question. It's really so how do you feel the evolution of technology has impacted your gaming experience? Has it been in a negative, in a positive way? But how has just the evolution of the technology impacted your overall gaming experience?
So I think so many aspects are great. The cross play,
Mm.
the playing with 20 to 40 ping instead of 250, because 250 was the ping. Like that was the best ping you could get on a 56K modem. Really, like unless you were really close to town, they were really close, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Um, but that was just kind of like the standard was like 240 or whatever.
And if anyone picked up the
There's
phone, disconnected.
yeah, there's so much great stuff.
Mm.
But I feel like just as equally, they've gotten so much better at the psychological getting you to play every like League just has their little small simple play a quest
Mm.
whatever, and then they have their
Mhm.
battle passes which are encouraging you to
Mm.
throw away your whole life to grind out for $28 worth of skins or whatever. But
Yeah.
so many of especially the phone games are just psychologically
Mm.
zoomed in on
Mhm. Mhm.
absolutely
Yes, they are.
taking it full advantage, especially of kids. And I
Yep.
feel like the technology of like gaming and stuff is cool, but like the psychological and like business aspects have
Mm.
tainted it
Mhm.
at least
Mhm.
as much as it's improved. So it's
Mm.
probably pretty much neutral. Like I don't know if Like,
Mm.
I think the ability to connect to people has been
Hmm.
hugely beneficial, but I think that the negative aspect of like people staring at their phones trying to complete their quests,
Right, right.
really got started to me in popularity around the time of Farmville.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's just like becomes like
Farmville.
this, hey, like you need to get back. Your crops are going to expire. Hey, you're going to miss out on all this cool stuff. You're going to miss out on these skins. And it's all so
That's
fake
what
and it's
started it.
propping up terrible games.
That's what
And
started it.
but it's really profitable, and so much time and energy and human,
Mm.
like so much human expertise is being
Hmm.
funneled into
Hmm.
these really crappy games that are just completely built
Yeah.
to like treat you like a piñata and just keep hitting you for money.
Mm.
And like that's just kind of depressing to watch something that was created for joy and created for these really cool unique games, and now it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like really simple phone games where they're just taunting you with like extra XP
yeah.
points if you'll just give them a little bit more money, and you'll become the best in the world if you just give them a little bit more money.
Just a little bit
And
more. You get a little better.
so
More money, more better. More money, more better.
really great stuff,
Terrible.
really crappy stuff. So it kind of grows further and further in both directions, I feel like. I feel like the really good stuff keeps getting better and better and better, and the really bad stuff keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And
Yeah, I know
there is
exactly what
just
you mean.
no
Yeah.
way to convince everyone in the world ever
Mm.
of anything. Like you can't just go like, hey guys, any game that includes these mechanics,
Mm. Hmm.
we just all boycott. It just doesn't work.
Mm.
Like boycotts just aren't typically all that effective if you can't do them at a local level.
Hmm.
Um,
Sadly,
but
yeah.
I don't know the future of it. But I'm hoping that at least we'll keep getting games like Elden Ring and stuff that,
Mm.
even if they have their flaws,
Hmm.
are really cool and unique and you know groundbreaking in their own way and are cool and aren't just there to suck the money out of you. And I hope those games keep getting supported by people who like a weird game, like a strange game, like a game that goes against the trends, and a game that
Mm.
takes
Mm.
chances, and a game that isn't just a loot pinata simulator.
I hear you. I agree with that. Yeah, that's the pros are good pros, but that is definitely the whole. We are being monetized basically, like as players, and I've noticed that it started. I have to say, it started around. I want to say the mid 2000s when stuff like battle passes and the whole loot box thing, and Overwatch with their boxes. That was actually what I was afraid of with League of Legends at first. But like you said, League of Legends is probably one of the few games that has the whole loot box system, but their system doesn't give you an edge over someone else. And you can play that whole game without ever putting a dime in it, and you can reach the highest level just on your gameplay. And
And I would also say it's really important that you continue to be able to buy the skin you want for money. Like
right,
whatever
you
you
can just
want,
choose
you
it.
need to be able
Yeah.
to buy directly, because if when you gatekeep stuff behind a percentage that you can't even see. I wish we had laws in America protecting us. I wish everything had to show all of the percentages all the
Mm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like, you can click on anything out there, and before you buy it, it will tell you every bit of percentages involved
Yeah,
so
and it
that you can know.
yeah, it's interesting because what is it? Europe that started banning such things because they've seen
Europe,
the detriment of it.
China, Japan, Korea, most of the,
Most of the civilized world.
most of the civilized world, but just like healthcare and everything else, like we're
Mm,
just not. Just it's a free for all over
that's
here.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. Oh man, this was really great. Rage, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us and being a part of this. I enjoy our gaming sessions personally. I know I don't really like say a
Same.
lot when we game, and especially now with the way
I say
things
a
are
lot,
going,
so it's
and
fun.
so I just want to say thank you again for being a part of this, and I want to say thank you for everyone who tuned in, letting us grace your space. I just wish you continue to have a great week. Remember that you are awesome. Jesus loves you, and ganadora.